the power of blockchain is you can create a large amount of transparency that's always going to be there, and it can never be changed. It's computationally infeasible. So when we were sort of looking at the problem within the philanthropy space is there's trust issues, and we were sort of like, we knew that blockchain was this big thing, and I studied blockchain at university, and Josh and I were sort of like bouncing off these ideas on what we could do, and we figured that if we could do large relief funds and have an engine that was tied to a current blockchain like the Bitcoin or the Ethereum chains, then we could start showing impact and traceability on how funds are being used.
Welcome to Justice Matters, the podcast inspiring a world where everyone belongs. I'm your host, Tim Buxton. G'day listeners, just a quick disclaimer at the top of this episode. In this interview, I talk about cryptocurrency with my guests and other forms of financial investment. And as you probably know, I am not an expert in those fields, and none of what is discussed is meant to be seen in any way as a form of guidance or investment advice. So please make sure you do your own due diligence before you get involved in any kind of investment strategies. And with that being said, I cannot wait for you to listen to this episode. Here is my introduction to my interview with the Little Phil guys on today's episode. Hey there guys, well what a cracking interview I just had with the founders of Little Phil. In today's episode I sit down with Josh and Matt, who are the co-founders of this incredibly new innovative giving platform that uses blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, all of that stuff. So if you want to learn more about that and the ways that they are using it to transforming the philanthropy industry, to engage people in giving again, then you are going to want to listen to this episode. I had such a fun time talking about that with them, learning a stack. Guys, it's incredible to see that there are young people out there taking a risk, launching out on a journey that they're passionate about. You get to know a bit about their stories and why they are so passionate about making a difference in the world. And excited to share this episode with you. You are going to love it. Thanks, guys. Congratulations, guys, on the last probably month or so. You guys have just been kicking goals, launching a $50,000 giveaway campaign on your amazing platform and signing some contracts and partnerships. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's been a busy month or two.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to the studio too and sitting down with us. We've been wanting to do that. Josh and I have been bouncing back and forth for a while. And this is like your third podcast this week. So
it's a hot topic at the moment, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the reasons why you've been on podcasts and some of those announcements. I did bring along some cheap champagne, so afterwards we can crack this open and celebrate the amazing achievements. But a lot of people are going to be having a lot of questions about Little Phil, this project that you guys have birthed, co-founders. Is there another co-founder in the mix that couldn't quite make it?
We have a couple of others actually. Yeah. So they're working hard today, unlike us, I guess, hardly working. So we're quite busy, as you'd know, continual development. Yeah. Unfortunately they couldn't make it, but at least me and Matt could get down here.
We have Shippy, which is our software engineer, or lead software engineer, and we have Craig, which denotes himself as Fizz, which is our creative designer as well.
Did you meet Fizz?
No, I don't.
You might have missed him.
You two guys, so you've been
the face of Phil. We often get asked who's Phil. That's generally the first question. Which one of you two is Phil? We're still yet to hire a Phil. We should hire one.
Yeah. That'd be great.
List.
Just from the get-go, who can give the elevator pitch for what you guys are and what you do? Who's going to jump in for that?
Yeah, I can give you a quick rundown. So basically, Little Phil, short for Little Philanthropist, micro philanthropy platform, trying to connect people, businesses, brands more directly to charities, causes, and beneficiaries. So we've been working on this for coming up to 3-4 years now, and it really came out of a few reasons. But we truly believe that the charitable giving industry's broken. No one's really innovated much in the last few years, 5, 10 plus at least. Whereas we can see that the next generation, or should I say our generation, are probably the most socially conscious to have ever walked the earth. What they don't usually like is being hassled in the supermarkets by people parading around like charities, being guilt-tripped all the time, and a constant ask. So something that we found and we started to move more into from the initial stages of just trying to increase trust and transparency was that people don't like that experience. Mm-hmm. If I give and then you come back to me in a day or in a week or in 10 days or something being like, oh, great, thanks, Tim, thanks for giving, and can you give again? Hey, can you give again? Hey, can you give again? The experience kind of is not great. There's no feedback loop.
Yeah.
It's like you're putting your money into a black hole, praying for the best. They've made you feel guilty or something, and now you're going to put money in. Mm-hmm. We believe that the process of giving and that experience should be more transparent, more engaging, so that you can give to something or someone you care about, know where the money's going, and actually have that feedback loop of videos, images, messages.
You're on a journey basically with that cause, that organisation.
Exactly.
And we've when we first started, there's how many pivots have we had now? We keep
evolutions.
Evolutions where we think we've honed in on the product and what we think the donors want, and then we'll start working more with some clients, and then the client's like, oh, hey, have you thought about this? And we're like, probably should have thought about that. And we start doing these evolutions, I guess, and not even huge pivots, but and now it's getting to this point where we have some pretty interesting corporations that are wanting to do some partnerships with us. We're getting a lot of feedback from donors that are excited about what we're doing and people in the space. I can't begin to tell you how many notifications I get on LinkedIn these days. It's like becoming spam almost.
Wow.
So yeah, it is cool. We are getting recognized. We're winning awards and making some good changes.
It's phenomenal. And what I love about it, and we at You Belong signed on with you guys just recently, and that's been a great journey for us. And we've already benefited from that partnership with you guys. But what I love is it's recognizing that giving, philanthropy, the system might be broken, but the concept and the idea of it is still such an important part of being human, isn't it? To want to give when you see a need, to want to have that opportunity. So I love the fact that it's, there's I've interviewed a lot of people that are doing social enterprises and mixing business with, sustainability, which is really another, I think, significant and important shift. But let's not neglect the fact that there's a lot of people that still just do really want to give their resources, and as well as being a conscious consumer. So I love that. You've resurrected, giving new life and meaning to philanthropy.
I think you really nailed that as well. I'm reading a very interesting book called The Happiest Man in the World or on the Planet, and it's by an author, Eddie Jaku. He's a German Jew, and he went through the Holocaust, so he's 102 or so.
Goodness, wow.
And he talks about the early stages of his life before the rise of the Nazis, and he was talking about how his father, they were like a medium-class sort of family, and he was saying how his dad would always make, on special occasions, these extra bits of bread, this really nice bread, and he'd ask his dad, why are you making all these extra ones? And he'd say, well, I want to give it to the people that don't have anything. And he said, life isn't worth living unless you're giving. If you're lucky enough to be able to give and provide for people, then that's truly where it is. And he talks about the dark history of his past and how those words sort of cemented to provide or to tell himself that he's even the happiest person after going through all that darkness.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an awesome book. I'd highly recommend anyone to read it.
What's the book again?
the happiest man in the world. I think. Let me just double check it. 1 second.
Happiest man in the world. I think what you've said.
Happiest Man on Earth by Eddie Jacku.
There we go.
It's amazing. It's truly amazing story.
Good recommendations out of that. You alluded to just before, you've been kicking some goals, getting some great partnerships. The uniqueness that we haven't touched on yet is the way that you're bringing philanthropy into the future is tapping into the most current of technologies out there that is hugely, in the news all the time for controversial, but I think now becoming more accepted means of financial transactions is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, and behind that, blockchain. So could you unpack how, one, for those people who, are curious as to what is blockchain technology and how it is undergirds this whole cryptocurrency environment in?
I guess I can sort of cover that from a simple point of view. Like a blockchain ledger is essentially like an Excel spreadsheet. And once a data entry goes into the row, it can never be changed, but it can be viewed by anyone in the world. So the power of blockchain is you can create a large amount of transparency that's always going to be there, and it can never be changed. It's computationally infeasible. So when we were sort of looking at the problem within the philanthropy space is there's trust issues, and we were sort of like, we knew that blockchain was this big thing, and I studied blockchain at university, and Josh and I were sort of like bouncing off these ideas on what we could do, and we figured that if we could do large relief funds and have an engine that was tied to a current blockchain like the Bitcoin or the Ethereum chains, then we could start showing impact and traceability on how funds are being used. And then it started evolving into this huge beast. We released our own cryptocurrency, like our little Phil coin that we could use, and like there's this huge hype and pump and these radicals. People thought we were crazy.
I didn't know that. I just like literally have started buying a few little coins just to dabble in, not much at all. But if I'd known there was a little Phil coin, I'd have been on it.
Well, when we were getting to the height of it, we were having these really cool ideas like around using blockchain. I don't know, like there's this huge phase at the moment called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. We had this concept to use NFTs to create digital passports for asylum seekers or people without government ID wanting to go into other countries. And so like we were talking about this years ago, back in 2017.
3 years ago.
Yeah. More. And like we built concepts of it. I even built like a Pokemon copy of it just to see what it would look like from an identity side of things. And it was super easy to use. It was on chain. You could see it, and you can see how you could use a digital passport these days. Like when you travel, your passport is your everything, right? Like
you don't lose your passport.
You got to photocopy it if you go to a dodgy place and just take out the photocopy. If you lose it, you're really stuck. But you can't lose it if it's on chain. It can be checked everywhere. Wow. So we had like these crazy cool ideas, and we were in this fast-paced moving environment, and then it crashed. and then we went to heaps of countries.
Yeah, we presented in San Fran, Korea, Singapore.
You
Hong
guys
Kong,
were traveling,
China.
Presenting.
We
this
traveled
concept.
pretty much for a whole year. Like we were just constantly living out of a suitcase, and it was cool. We got invited to some really cool things. We went to a 16th century family bank. We got invited to so many different places and cool things. So we were sort of like really on the cutting edge. And I remember when I first started talking about crypto as well, before Little Phil was sort of ventured, people were like, "What are you doing? What are you talking about?" I was like, "No, seriously." I even remember saying...
There was just a sense of illegitimacy about it. At least I always heard this idea of, it's just going to be used for nefarious means, and that's the end of it, the dark side of crypto, and the great resistance within establishment because, well, we all know that they don't tend to benefit maybe as much, right? I mean...
Funny to watch now that they're all coming in.
Even in my last year of uni, so I'd finished all my curriculum pretty quickly, and I graduated with a major in network security. So we did a lot of cryptography. I understand cryptography quite well, which is the underlying component of a blockchain. And I said to Josh, I was like, "Josh, would you like to buy some Bitcoin with me? It's $300. And he's like, I think it's overbought. I think it's going to crash. So we didn't do anything about it at that time, and now Bitcoin's this absolute juggernaut worth more than countries' GDPs. So it's funny how things regrets.
We've all got those. We've all got those stories. I bought some Dogecoin when it was like 7 cents, but I only got like $30 of it because I was like, dang it! I wish I had. Yeah. It was like a couple of days ago. It was worth $200, but anyway, it is what
it's all in hindsight.
It all is. So tell me about now some of maybe Josh, you could talk to some of the partnerships now that you've forged. Legends of Crypto have just signed on with you, and you might even have some others in the works you could share. Like, how does that relate, that whole world of crypto then relate to, you've kind of touched on it a bit, Matt, but relate to now some of the partnerships and the ways you're moving forward? Yeah,
good question. So basically all of that, us working in that industry and, presenting at events and all this kind of stuff for that length of time obviously led us to have pretty good networks in that industry. So we had to tone down all our communications, because if you're associated with crypto over the last couple of years, it's been a door closer, not a door opener. So externally, we've had to really tone that down, whereas we've always had that core, I guess, and that it's always been there. The Legends of Crypto project that we've partnered with, it's basically a trading card game on blockchain, and it uses what they call NFTs, so non-fungible tokens, which basically, the difference between a non-fungible token and a fungible token, say Bitcoin's a fungible token, I can give you one, Matt one, part of one, whatever, but it's all just, Bitcoin. Or
what does so is that what fungible means?
Sorry, I'm just basically non-fungible means it's unique. So it's like it's one. Okay. It's like you having an iPhone that's serialized, and you're the only one with that serialized iPhone.
We both can have an iPhone, but your serial number will be different to my serial number.
Yeah.
It's not a carbon copy, essentially.
Yeah. So it's provably real, provably scarce. So you can see how many copies were made. Yeah. You can see the original creator, or they call it mint when you mint it. And so on. So, a good friend of ours was working on this project, Legends of Crypto, so a trading card game using NFTs, and we've always wanted to work together. They got some really good backing, so we've been advising and partnered with the project, and they got people like the CEO of Bitcoin.com's invested in them.
Wow.
Some really good players in there. And Mick McHale is the CEO. He, the conversation was that, anything that we advise on or work with or partner with has to be generating impact for the charities and causes on our platform. Wow. Or we just won't put our time and effort and skills into it.
Yeah.
And he fully agreed, and he loved the concept that, he or his project could be making an impact. So we came to an agreement where 10% of all the NFT trading card sales will come back to charities and causes on Little Phil.
Can you believe it? That's awesome. So for guys like, our charity, You Belong, that's exciting news. We get to then see a real, so for charities that are out there looking for ways to, expand and venture into new ways of fundraising principles and fundraising strategies, partnering with you guys, the benefit then can really be seen an impact for them without me actually having to be an expert and me actually being able to have to kind of understand or work with it. So,
and it's something that hasn't been done. So we're like on the
bleeding edge.
Yeah, the frontiers of this change in how corporate giving essentially has had this metamorphosis in a way of giving.
And touch on that, because traditionally corporates giving is like, hey, we're a massive big company and we're going to decide as a board or at some CEO leadership that we're going to get behind and sponsor this. I'm right now running a Bike to Belong campaign, a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign to raise awareness for our charity, You Belong, empowering refugees. And I've tried to reach out to other bike companies to say, hey, would you sponsor us? Would you get on board with us? And they just go, you know what? I won't name the companies, we have to go to our board and our head office to determine whether we can donate a bike to help you, or we can do this. It's like that level of control at the top, where what you're saying, like explain how that actually can be revolutionized through your platform, or it doesn't have to be a high level decision.
Yeah, exactly. So modern or traditional corporate giving pieces, you'll get one big entity that will give a large sum of money to one thing, and that's their impact. But I've done a fair bit of research now into what the modern or new generational workforce is after, and they don't want to see, or they want to see impact, but not on just one thing that one board of directors decide on. They want to be able to choose and have a flair on that. And this is where another sort of revolutionary part of Little Phil is coming into it, where corporations can come in and give pools of money that it credits out to their employees that allow them to give to hundreds of different organizations on our platform. And this is a similar thing to what the royalties as such, or the 10% that can come back in, instead of just going to one item, that can be broken up and used on how people want to use it, so they can choose where it wants to go. They can see their impact, and these pillars of organizations can get deeper and expand without actually just siloing into one part. Like I think Westpac give $20 million or so.
Yeah, so we use that as a use case. It's like, okay, if you're working for Westpac and Westpac give $10-20 million, whatever it is, to Life Flight.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what if I don't care about Life Flight?
Yeah.
I'm still an employee. How can we empower them?
Yeah. So
make
it's values aligned giving, which represents the values and brings everyone into that experience again, brings everyone into the journey of my giving's having an impact in a cause that actually I value that aligns with me. Because I've understood this with some of my philanthropy studies, is that people think that when you give or donate, you don't get anything, or you're not getting a service. But what you're arguing is you are getting something. You're getting a good moment.
Yeah.
You're getting a feeling, and that sense of meaning, of purpose, the happiest man on earth, that sense of value is actually a tangible service you get in exchange when you give. And it's not to say you give with those ulterior motives, but we all do give about what we care about.
Deloitte's done a huge study where it's even showing that the millennials and the Gen Z, the modern or the new age workforce, is 53% now or so. And what they're looking for now is not a salary that's higher than other corporations, or not an organization or a corporation that's well-renowned. They're looking for people that are making huge impacts now. And Deloitte have shown that these people, these new workforce, are going to go where they want to see impact. So huge organizations and corporations, if they're not changing with these modern times, they're going to lose out on recruiting the best talent.
The best people, yeah.
And the three best companies in the world that are having radical changes. And if you go have a look for what job availabilities they have, you won't really find them. It's Disney, Lego, and Rolex. Yeah, you wouldn't really think, like Lego plastic, they now don't use plastic, they use plant-based.
Wow.
They did a huge transition. Disney have given over $400 million US into and protecting conservation, and Rolex actually have a Rolex.
I always like Disney.
And Rolex have Rolex.org, which actually work with their pillars of environments, so the sea, the mountains, and they work with National Geographic to generate these amazing documentaries on how to conserve, protect, and bring the world back into balance. So things like that are really, really starting to make a big impact in where people want to put their time.
Oh, man, that's so powerful, so true. Let me tell you about one of our partners, Freedom Broadband. They're an incredible profit for purpose business. Freedom Broadband is your all-in-one internet and telephone service provider, whether it's for your business or your home. Now, their internet connection and speeds are simply amazing, and they're in another league when it comes to the quality of their customer service. But here's what really sets them apart. When you switch to any of their services, they'll donate $5 every month to a non-profit cause of your choice. As the founder of You Belong, an Australian-based non-profit charity, one of the greatest challenges we face is fundraising, and I think I can speak for almost all leaders in the non-profit world when I say that being able to have a residual income coming into your accounts to support your work is a dream come true. And like most non-profits, our work is dependent on the generous support of individuals and groups that share our passion to empower refugees to integrate and thrive here in Australia. What that means is that we spend more time and energy looking for ways to raise support, and what I desperately love to be doing is spending that time and our limited resources developing and growing the many successful programs that we run. But here's where our friends at Freedom Broadband come in. You see, a few months back, I was on a 4G wireless connection at home through one of the largest phone and internet companies here in Australia. And each month I was nervous about going over our usage, getting a nasty bill at the end, and I was working on a lot of the podcasting and videos at home, and the speeds I was getting were just painfully debilitating. And I finally decided to give Freedom Broadband a call, and within 2 minutes I was on the call with Graham completing my application, and within a week I had completely switched over to their $79 a month unlimited plan, and I can tell you firsthand, the service has been phenomenal, and I have a direct line to their customer service team whenever I have a question or need assistance. Now the studio and office where I work has switched over to Freedom Broadband as well. We're on their business plan and we haven't looked back. And how cool is this? Little by little, connection by connection, Aussie-owned and locally run Freedom Broadband is now actively supporting the great work of non-profits in communities all around Australia. Simply by switching your internet to Freedom Broadband, you can help transform the lives of those less fortunate. And that's why I love these guys. Get this, head to freedombroadband.com.au and quote Justice Matters on your application form, and they will donate $50 from the activation fee to support Justice Matters. That's going to enable us to continue this podcast and inspire the world where everyone belongs. That's freedombroadband.com.au. Say goodbye to expensive, mediocre internet with poor customer service, and hello to top-notch internet service and the good feeling of knowing you're supporting a great cause. Join Freedom Broadband today. Quote Justice Matters, and let's partner together with the internet that's helping to change the world. What about you guys personally? How did you kind of get into it? Now you've both kind of got business, tech kind of background in studying, but it's more than just what makes you want to use your interests and your passions to, in the world of philanthropy, in the world of this. I will recognize you as a winner of, I think, Volunteer of the Year in Australia. I mean, that's part of your DNA, but where did that come from? Where does it spring from? Can you? I'll start with you, Josh, and then maybe Matt.
Yeah, sure. I think really early on, so coming from a low to medium, I guess, income family, and then always seeing people try and take advantage of the undereducated or not so wealthy people. Always there was something within me that was like, well, you know what? If I can do something to help, I will.
Yeah.
And then really moving down, I can see that we have the right skills. Anyone could go off and set up a loan company. People are going to want to borrow money. It's there forever.
Yeah.
I don't see that being a great use of my skills. So, there's a bunch of businesses that we could have gone into in fintech and all this kind of stuff where it's just a money grab, but that doesn't really fulfill me. Whereas, the idea that we could go out, help the people that are trying to do good by a cause. So I admire people like yourself, people that are hands-on, on the ground. I appreciate how much time and effort and work goes into you trying to fix or support your cause. so much so that I'm like, okay, cool. How can we make such a big impact? How can we empower all the Tims around the world to be focusing on their cause rather than going, oh, shit, I need to go and figure out how to get money to be able to do this. And because that's not fun.
No.
And it shouldn't be part of your
like
business.
music to my ear. You're music to people's ear, that they're best spending their time and energy focusing on fixing the problem than trying to find a way to put food on the table so that they can help the people that they know are in desperate need. So, yeah, Yeah,
100%. So, I mean, that's kind of where I think it's led into, and then seeing a few pivotal moments that we could see. So when I was back at university doing my master's, most of my peers there, compared to when I went for my undergrad, were much more socially conscious. So, I went on a volunteer trip over to South America with them, and just seeing to the extent in which they were going out of their way to be more conscious of their impact. So I was pretty bad. I was using bottled water in South America. They brought the little filtration system, bottled water things with them, and I'm sitting there going, whoa, that's something that I wouldn't have gone out of my way thinking. I'd have been like, all right, cool, I know I can't drink the water here. I'll have to make sure I only drink bottled water, like all travelers usually do. But, they're going out doing that. They're using keep cups. They're, supporting brands that are not mainstream brands that, have an impact, or, their environmental policies are right. So that was a big opener. And then seeing news like expose on some of these third-party marketing companies that just take advantage of people's generosity and, really can tarnish the charity's brand reputation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want someone coming and lying to me, telling all the money's going to a charity when most of it's sitting in your pocket.
And that not only can prevent them from giving to that charity again, but can also prevent them from giving to charity in general.
Yeah.
Right? So, wow.
And I guess it was set up for the right reason at the start. Charities need to get money in, and they use that. It's just an expensive and inefficient way to do it.
Yeah.
So how can we do it better?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Matt, how about you? Where did you fit into all of this?
So I came from a very low-income family. So my parents divorced when I was about 3. So my mum did an exceptional job of raising 5 kids by herself. So I sort of knew what it's like to struggle, and when I was going to primary schools, I had the secondhand clothes, things like that. So and we even had help from Smith Family at one stage. So I very much understand.
Smith Family, for international audiences, is an Australian charity that focuses on poor, low income.
Yeah, so just to make sure that the kids can go to school with food in their bellies, things like that. They have clothes, they have school stuff.
I just wanted to clarify that, but keep going.
So when I finished school, I didn't really have a huge desire to do an educational piece. I have a few chefs in the family, and that's sort of what I was pretty keen to do. I love cooking, and anyway, I was talked out of that one. So I ended up going to university to actually study for conservation, environmental science in marine biology, and because I care about the oceans. I hate seeing plastic on beaches, and you go to Asia and it's so bad, and the water's so bad. You look at India and places like that.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd really enjoy doing something in that area. Me having a little bit of foresight, looked into job prospects and availability and what I could possibly do, and it was quite low. I had a pretty high aptitude for mathematics, and my math professor told me to go look at doing something with cryptography.
Yeah.
So I switched from environmental science into a Bachelor of IT and majored in network security and databases. And I didn't really think much more in the social impact and social enterprise world. I went to Deloitte. Sat in my cubicle and did some work, and it was pretty painful actually. It was one of those things where I sort of had this great idea of working for a corporate and like these cool events that you go to and the flights and stuff like that. And it wasn't until that Deloitte had this thing called an Impact Day. And you got to give away some of your time to go help an organization of your choice.
Yes.
So I did that, and I went and helped an organization that was very much like the Smith family, but just getting started up. So we built up their cloud infrastructure, we set up their designs and things like that to get them started. So through that, I went to a few various other careers that I was sort of taken on a path. I was like poached from Deloitte by a couple of directors and went into a cloud privacy company. And Josh was talking to me about this idea that he had, and I've always known Josh to be a bit of a go-getter. So I love his opportunistic nature that he has, and I love the idea, even as rough as it was. I felt that if we could do something that could change how things are run and like cut out those, I used to hate getting approached by the tin can shakers.
Oh yeah.
And I think what the pivotal point for me was as well, when I was like, "Sorry, mate, I only got card," and he's like, "Got an F+ machine." And I was like, "Damn it!"
Oh, yeah, you can't use that excuse anymore.
Yeah. So, and I knew these guys were getting paid because Deloitte do a large amount of study on this, and as a data analyst, you punch all those numbers. And Josh asked me when I was actually still as a data analyst to punch some numbers for him and had a look at some things, and the numbers were pretty wild, like how much of a dollar was being used, and the percentages could go all the way up to 90%. So 10 cents out of $1 is pretty bad, and if we could change that and flip that entirely, then that's a world that I'd like to live in.
Oh, phenomenal. And you guys have teamed up. It's 3.5 years or so, right? Almost 4 years, right?
About 4. You just had your 4th year anniversary last week.
Coming up to your 4th year anniversary, and how does it feel now? Like has it been just like the more recent days? You're feeling like you're starting to like change into a different gear, or what's it like at the moment for you?
I guess from my perspective, it's been wild. To be honest, like there's times where you got these huge pushes. Like I remember we were doing our production release, and I was sitting in a park in San Francisco in some little Italian sort of sector of San Fran, and we're doing a production release. So it's been like this huge push, and then this sort of like, where do we go now? Like, what's our vision now? And then the visions would change, and as we're evolving. So I don't know if you've ever seen it sort of reminds me of like when you look out over a horizon and you see like your mountains, and you got like your ups and downs, your peaks, and it's eventually going up and down. That's sort of what it's
like Bitcoin.
Pretty much. So to me, that's what it's felt like. But over the last year, we've had a huge, like a really aggressive push. I migrated from Josh asked me to step off tech for a bit. Once the cloud was set up, and we had another software guy come on, so he asked me for a bit of help in talking to some people, because I have a pretty good strong sales background, and start bringing some people on board and really give a good whack at it. So in doing that, we've really made some headway, and it's been pretty cool to see. So it's sort of exponentially shot up over the last year and a half, I would say.
What about you? What are some of the challenges in doing this? Because like you get a great idea and you're passionate, believe it, and it's that passion and drive and that belief that keeps you through. The up's not like usually it's never like that. It's always like
it's like roller coaster.
But if you persevere, and if you make it through those days, you wake up and you got that knot in your stomach and you just don't even know if you're even gonna make it, if you hang in there enough. So what have for you have been some of the challenges? What gives you hope as well?
I think we've always kept our North Star, right? So like we have that end goal. How we get there is not, that's going to change.
Yes,
it could change week to week, really, how we get there. But as long as we stay focused on that North Star.
What is that North Star? Can you summarize it?
So from a North Star point of view, it's really the overall goal is to fix the charitable giving industry.
Fix philanthropy, I like that.
Pretty much. And it's okay.
Hashtag fix philanthropy.
We want to bring in all those different streams of impact and impact tracking and, funding, alternative fundraising solutions so that you don't have to run out there being like, hey, donate.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's all just coming in and, you can breathe easy knowing that
Brilliant.
it's, kind of taken care of. So that's really our North Star. We've had a heap of ups and downs.
Yeah.
So working in the crypto space, we had multi-million-dollar commitments
Just vanished.
overnight disappeared.
Wow.
So, we had a team of like 15 or so people. And, these guys who are super wealthy in China had committed to us, put us on their website, introed us to all of their friends, their networks, saying, we've invested, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
No worries.
San Francisco for them.
Wow.
And then just when the crypto market tanked, gone.
Left you high and dry.
Oh, 100%, yeah. So that was naivety on our behalf, just trusting, I guess. And, that's one thing we learned. It's not a deal until money's in the bank kind of thing.
I heard it once said, if you partner right, the rest is details. And it's that idea of, having that trust in partnership and getting that right. But anyway. Yeah.
So that was pretty disappointing. And that was difficult to recover from. But we did. We recovered. And we got through, which was good. And then more recently, the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
We had a large deal with a large ASX company, which would have brought a bunch more impact in.
Yeah.
Ready to go. I'm in Sydney 1-2 weeks before lockdown and doing the technical deep dive, figuring out how we can integrate and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
Lockdown happens. Everything's just pushed back. So, those conversations are still happening, but that's a deal that's moved back 13, 14 months.
Oh, wow.
Compared to when it should have been closed.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that always happen, always seem to happen.
Yeah. But the future's looking bright now.
Very bright.
What, as we kind of wrap things up, I know we're kind of running out of time here. What would you want to, tell people about, where you guys are heading, what's on the horizon, how can people jump on board and be part of what you're doing?
Yeah. Great question. So right now we're really focused on partnerships. Legends of Crypto, we have another partnership project in the NFT space as well. So a way that celebrities, artists, creators can embed a piece of perpetual impact into an NFT. So another cool feature with NFTs is that it's changing the royalties and licensing game. So, imagine being able to come to a famous artist or celebrity and say, you know what, if you create this NFT, you can set a percentage that you want to go back to a charity cause that you care about forever. So every single time it gets traded, changes hands, a percentage automatically comes back. So that's another partnership deal that we've done, and that project will be announced very soon.
Very cool.
But it's kind of leaving a legacy, After that person passes away, usually the piece of art price appreciates significantly, and then when it does transfer, it's continual. So leave a legacy kind of thing. Wow. We're featured at Collision Conference, so North America's largest tech conference at the moment.
Wow.
Which is cool. What else have we got on?
We're also bringing on traditional corporate partnerships as well, where corporations that want to come in and actually start showing a more modern approach to impact, then they can start partnering with us to allow for a better approach to employee giving. So we're reaching out with local, state, and national companies to come on board, do some partnerships, give it a trial, see how it goes, and you'll be surprised with the talent that you'll start bringing in. They'll start looking for you based on your impact as well. So that's a big piece that I'm working on.
Can I just say, and I don't know if you were just extra kind to me when we came on board with you guys, but I was just so impressed by the level of concern you even had for just partnering and making sure that we, as a small little charity, trying to make a big impact and change the world for refugees and disadvantaged. The way that you spent time with us and offering over and above what a lot of people would spend on trying to hire all the other companies that are out there that tend to exploit people. So if anybody is interested in learning more about it, I couldn't recommend you enough. You're not paying any money to be on this podcast. It's an unashamed plug for you guys. But it's great because it's benefits. You're talking about corporates and dealing with the big players there, but your heart is for the
little
grassroots,
guys. Yeah.
The little guys,
Yeah.
the guys that are out there that can't do it. And that's the beautiful thing. You've tapped into the future of technology and finance and the world we're living in to bridge that gap. And I love that.
Thank you. I actually said to Josh when we were trying to figure out where it was, because we were sort of targeting everyone. And I said, Josh, I think the guys that need our help the most are the small to medium guys. Because the big guys, they have their dev teams, they have their marketing teams, they have large budgets. And when we figured that out, I created my marketing calendar and I left it open. So I was like, you can book me in any time here. So I was having meetings at like 10 p.m. on a Sunday night where small charities would be like, Matt, how do I set up my email so we can start doing this? And it was funny, as hard as it was, like having these wild meetings all over the place. That what we got back from that was people started recognizing that we're not just this faceless organization that's trying to come in and take money off organizations. We're actually trying to get there, help them generate larger streams of income and actually get a name and an impact for themselves.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for your kind words, because that's really much our approach.
It's your heart. You guys,
Appreciate it.
you guys set us up with, you've shared your expertise and the people on your team to sit down with people on my team. And those 10 o'clock meetings are so important because quite often many people are working during the day, volunteering.
Yeah.
I did an assignment recently and I think it's something like 49% of charities on the ACNC, Australian Charity Network, are completely run by volunteers. 50% of all of the grassroots charities and small charities out there are run by volunteers. So, and they're making a huge impact.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think it's also our view. So we don't view a charity as a client; we view them as a partner.
Yeah.
So your success is our success.
Yeah.
So I think that's a different way that we look at it compared to just traditional software as a service or something.
Well, you guys are kicking goals. I cannot wait. I'm cheering Bitcoin on so that you guys, but for all of that, guys, thanks for coming on in. Thanks for your passion and your heart. Thanks for leading the way. And if anybody wants to follow you, find you, where do they do that?
You can littlephil.org, and they can also go to littlephil on Instagram. I know it tracks all down.
Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Yeah, I found you guys on LinkedIn. You guys were in the local newspaper, and I'm like, I've got to get in touch with these guys.
We generally rank pretty well on Google, so if you type in Little Phil, you'll generally find us at the top there. So you can reach out to us on LinkedIn if you want to have a chat to us, or you can even have a chat window on our website. Yep. So that will link up to me, and I'll respond generally within the hour as well.
Yeah. So good. Guys, thanks for sitting down. Thanks for this chat. Thanks for doing what you do.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us, and thanks for jumping on board.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Justice Matters. I'd like to take this time to thank my audio-visual engineer, Jose Biotto, for your help in producing the show. I'd also like to shout out to the Patreon community that financially supports this podcast. Guys, thank you so much for your support. And you can join them simply by going to patreon.com/Justice Matters. For a simple donation of $5 a month, you can become a part of the Patreon community and get access to behind-the-scenes content,
and extras that I share just with you. And lastly, there is another really important way that you can help support the podcast, and that's simply by rating it or leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, maybe by subscribing on YouTube. Yes, we are a video podcast as well. Guys, thank you so much for listening in to this episode of Justice Matters. Please come again soon. We can't wait to share more episodes with you. I'm your host, Tim Buxton. Thanks for listening.